These days, many people believe that using cell phones or computers is the main way to catch scammers, but this isn't entirely correct for two simple reasons. First, experienced cheaters know how to avoid leaving electronic traces on such devices, and second, the average spouse often doesn't suspect their partner of cheating, meaning they have no reason to search for non-existent evidence. I know this because I used to be one of those somewhat naive spouses who believed my beautiful wife, Lisa, would never cheat on me. But the harsh reality was that I was completely mistaken, as if I had been living with blinders on, not noticing the smallest sign of trouble in our marriage. My name is Bo Ekland, a 39-year-old from Scandinavia working in planning and administration for a leading local construction company. Lisa is 37 and works in the accounting department at an engineering plant. We've been married for 13 years and have a 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. Everything seemed fine until that terrible Friday when a simple coincidence turned my world upside down. I foolishly thought that Lisa and I had a strong marriage. The problem started the previous Saturday when I had to spend a few hours at work fixing some urgent issues. As a result, I took all of Friday off as compensation for the overtime. Naturally, Lisa gave me a long to-do list to keep me busy that day, but after the kids left for school, I decided to skip the list and focus on cleaning the house, as we were hosting 2 families for dinner that evening. After vacuuming the living room, I turned to the cocktail cabinet to clean the mirrors, wanting to impress our guests. That cabinet typically held 8 bottles of malt whiskey from various Scottish distilleries and 6 crystal whiskey glasses. To my surprise, I noticed 1 glass had been used, whereas 2 days before, when I replaced a burnt-out light bulb, everything was spotless. This puzzled me since I never leave dirty glasses in there. It was clear someone had been in my house drinking whiskey the previous day. Lisa and I had left home at the same time that morning, and I was back before her. So, someone must have had whiskey during the afternoon while we were both at work. But who breaks into a house just to drink whiskey? There had to be another explanation. I first checked the doors, windows, and locks for any signs of a break-in, then examined our valuables. Everything was intact. My next thought was that Lisa had come home briefly and had company. But why wouldn't she have mentioned it? Unless, of course, I wasn't meant to know about it. The realization hit me like a bolt of lightning, and I rushed to the bedroom to search for clues. However, I found nothing unusual there. The next place to check was the spare room. To my shock, the pillow and sheets on the bed appeared slightly used. This was strange since Lisa's sister, our last guest, had stayed with us months ago. On closer inspection, I found a couple of long, dark brown hairs on the pillow and a small dried stain in the middle of the sheet. I removed the sheet and pillowcase, cut out the stained part, and tossed the rest in a garbage bag. With a magnifying glass, I compared the hair from the spare room to some from Lisa's hairbrush. There was no doubt, it was Lisa's. Lisa's sister is blonde, so it couldn't have been hers. It was evident someone had slept in that bed the previous night, and Lisa's hair on the pillow implicated her. She had been at the gym the night before and didn't have time to make the bed and cover her tracks. But she wasn't too worried, knowing I rarely checked the spare room. If it hadn't been for that dirty glass, I'd still be a blissfully unaware husband. Lisa never leaves a dirty glass in the cabinet, which meant her lover must have helped himself to the whiskey while waiting for her. There was no way I could act like everything was normal and host dinner with our friends, so I made 2 calls, cancelling dinner to their surprise. I then left a note on the kitchen table for Lisa. Lisa, due to a very serious issue, I've cancelled dinner with our friends and will be away for a while. B. I didn't say much about the issue or where I was going, but Lisa wasn't foolish. She'd figure it out when she saw the freshly made bed in the spare room. I booked a room at a popular hotel on the Baltic coast, packed my clothes and laptop, loaded the car, locked the house, disconnected my phone, and drove away. Once at the hotel, I spent some time at the gym and pool before having dinner and then relaxing in the bar. I turned on my phone just to download Lisa's voice and text messages. She had left 4 voicemails and 2 texts, asking me to contact her as soon as possible. There was no apology or any attempt to understand why I'd left, so I had no reason to call her back. Saturday passed mostly at the hotel gym and spa. After dinner, I spent a few hours at the bar, but I wasn't in the mood for the advances of a rather attractive lady who clearly had business in mind. By Sunday evening, around 6 p.m., I returned home. As soon as I walked in, Lisa yelled, "Where the hell have you been?" I calmly responded, "Who is he?" "Who's what?" she shot back. "The guy you brought into the house on Thursday to drink my whiskey and sleep with you in the spare bedroom." She quieted down and asked, "How can you think such nonsense?" "He left a dirty glass in the whiskey cabinet and his prints on the spare room sheet. Your hair was on the pillow. If you don't tell me who he is, I'll start gathering DNA samples from the prime suspects. It's better to tell me now and spare your innocent co-workers the embarrassment." "You can't demand DNA from innocent people and expect them to comply," she protested. "I can't, but I'm sure my friends can persuade them. The innocent ones will be eager to help rather than resist. What happens to the guilty party isn't my concern." Her face turned ashen, and she cried, "Oh my God, you can't let them harass innocent people." "As I said, it's entirely up to you. A few of my childhood friends, who grew up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in the city, often found themselves spending half their lives behind bars, not really caring much because, to them, it seemed far better than being unemployed and struggling on the outside. Lisa knew they wouldn't hesitate to do me a small favor. She told me it was just a harmless, one-time thing with Jerry Harrison, something that would never happen again. "Please forgive me, let me explain." "There's no need to overreact," she pleaded. "The only thing I could think of was that I was going to strangle that dam." She screamed at me to stop and come back, but I was already heading out. I got in my car and drove straight to Jerry's place. It took me about 10 minutes, but by then, Lisa had already warned him about what was coming. At home was his stunning wife, Veronica, who told me Jerry had rushed out of the house after getting a phone call. When I explained why I had come, she thanked me for the information and said if I had any proof, Jerry would be out of her house by tomorrow. "That won't be a problem," she added, "because this house is solely mine." I told her Lisa had confessed to what she and Jerry did, and I even had DNA evidence from the bed sheets. I just needed something with Jerry's DNA so I could send it off for testing. "I'm sure Lisa's call is what made him run off in such a hurry," I said. Veronica handed me a used handkerchief from the laundry basket and said it belonged to Jerry. She even promised to keep me updated on whatever went down between them. The next day, on Monday, I went to the courthouse to fill out the divorce papers, signed them, and presented them to Lisa. She refused to sign and burst into hysterical tears. Later that evening, I got a call from Veronica. She told me Jerry had been kicked out after admitting to cheating, and now her well-built co-worker had moved in with her so Jerry couldn't pull any stunts to get back in. Lisa wasn't exactly happy when I told her Jerry was now free, and she could go join him if she wanted. Instead, she started crying again and begged for my forgiveness for what she called a regrettable, stupid, one-time mistake. I considered it, but before I could even think of forgiving her, I wanted to sort out some things. So, I went for a long walk to reflect on everything. During that walk, Veronica called and asked for a favor. It struck me as odd, but it was clearly something very important to her. 2 days later, I received a very interesting call and an audio file on my phone that changed my plans of reconciling with Lisa. In the audio, Jerry Harrison confessed to sleeping with Lisa Eckland about 5 or 6 times in various places. Last Thursday was the first time at her house. The first time it happened was at a Christmas party at work, and the second time was during a seminar when Joel Nielsen joined in, and they had a threesome that lasted all night. After that, it was just Jerry and Lisa, meeting in different places. Jerry was told he could keep his job, but his wife wanted him to move 35 kilometers away to a neighboring town. He agreed. My friends told me it only took a few seconds with a stun gun to get Jerry to agree to everything. First, I called Veronica to break the news about her cheating husband. Then, I turned to Lisa, letting her listen to Jerry's confession. It was enough to get her to sign the divorce papers without any further arguments or explanations about her actions. Although I knew the divorce would be a nightmare, especially for our innocent kids, I saw no other way out. No matter how much I loved Lisa or still cared for her, the years of cheating and lying had become too heavy a burden to carry. Epilogue 6 months later, I still felt like a wreck, and my life was a mess. I bought our house back from Lisa by taking out another loan from the bank, and trying to manage all my expenses with just my paycheck was ruining my finances. Even though almost everyone involved in Lisa's affair ended up losing something, I still felt like the biggest loser. Jerry did what he was told and moved to a cheap house in a neighboring town, where he lived with a divorced woman he met online. He continued to blame Lisa for his downfall. While they both kept their jobs, their relationship had ended, and they barely spoke to each other. Even Joel Nalen was living miserably. Though he remained married, after I told his wife about the threesome with Lisa and Jerry, she gave him a choice, either back off or accept her new terms. He chose the latter, becoming a laughingstock while his wife enjoyed time with her boss, at least once a week, usually at his apartment but sometimes even in Joel's bed. Rumor had it that Joel often ended up sleeping in a spare room or a cheap hotel. His wife even received a promotion at work and a company car. So, she was definitely the winner, and she didn't entertain for free. Even Jerry's ex-wife, Veronica, was a winner. That handsome co-worker of hers never left her house, and I even received an invitation to their wedding. Veronica mentioned she found me a great date for the wedding, though I didn't expect anything serious to come out of it. Veronica had been the one who wanted Jerry out of town and had asked if I could convince him to leave. I did, and she paid my friends generously for the favor. In return, they gave me valuable information about Lisa and Jerry. Lisa ended up moving in with Tony home in his small one-bedroom apartment. Because of this, she was unable to see our kids every other week, as agreed in our joint custody. Tony, a jealous and abusive man, had been warned by both me and several of Lisa's friends, but Lisa ignored us. That is, until Tony got furious when Lisa refused to give him the money from the sale of our house, which he had planned to use to buy a new BMW. In his rage, he made the grave mistake of beating Lisa in front of our kids. Even though I had left Lisa due to her infidelity, she was still the mother of my children. Anyone who hurt her would not escape punishment. That's why Tony ended up in the hospital with a broken collarbone, a fractured leg, and an injured knee, and later returned home in a wheelchair, which he would need for weeks. While Tony was in the hospital, Lisa moved out of his apartment and bought her own place in a much better neighborhood. Though Lisa and I aren't friends, at least now we can talk about our kids. She swears up and down that she regrets her cheating, and I believe her. What really took me by surprise was how quickly Veronica and Joel Nealon's wives found new boyfriends. I'm starting to think Lisa wasn't the only cheating wife in this mess. One of my best friends is convinced that Jerry and Joel slept with Lisa as some kind of revenge, suspecting their own wives were cheating on them. Who knows if he's right? I'm the only innocent person in this entire situation. How fair is that?